UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi's going down this weekend, man. And today I'm going over my predictions on the whole entire card. Make sure you guys go head over to my Bet MMA. We've been cooking over here, man. We've been cooking over here. Past couple weeks have been great. Up 4 units last week and 5 the week before. We got some bets in here already, but I'll go over those on Friday. Let's hop right into the breakdown, man. The first fight, Martin Buday versus Marcus Buchecha. I'm going with Buchecha. The debutant, Martin Buday is 15-2, but man, this guy, he fights close with a lot of fighters. You know, Lucas Brzeski specifically fights close with him. You know, a lot of people thought that Brzeski beat Buday. In Buday, you know, although the takedown defense is 100%, it takes, you know, these heavyweights that are good grapplers. If they get you down one time, man, the fight's pretty much over. You've seen it in countless fights. Marcin Tybura, right? There's so many fights, like against Jahanta Denise specifically. Like, these big guys get on top. Spivak's done it to a lot of people. It's so hard to get up for these guys that are, you know, 260. And Martin Buday is a guy who cuts weight, right, at the 265 mark. So he likes to bully people inside the octagon, likes to get in the clinch, you know, do his work there. But I think Buchecha gets this fight down, and I think he finishes the fight, whether it's ground and pound or whether it's a submission. Buday is a guy who seems like he can beat the lower level fighters, but when it comes to a fighter that even has the potential to be ranked, he doesn't look great. I'll go with Buchecha here by a finish. I'm gonna go by submission. I think that's the safe way to play it. Let's move on to the next one. Muhammad Yahya, he's moving down to featherweight, taking on Stephen Nguyen. They're giving Muhammad Yahya a winnable match. I'm not going to say winnable because Muhammad Yahya is just not a good fighter. He's got some decent pop in his punches. That's about it, though. I mean, like, he's got a nice little 1-2 that he's hurt some guys with on the regional scene, but he's just not a good athlete. No coordination. Footwork's bad, moves back up or backs up in a straight line, no head movement. You know, he can wrestle a little bit. I don't expect him to be able to wrestle Stephen Nguyen whatsoever. You know, Nguyen's a guy who's coming off a loss to Jarno Aarons, and that's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Nguyen's a guy who likes to brawl in the pocket, and Jarno, or like pressure, and Jarno's just a dude who's gonna throw like gas, you know, just velocity and hard punches at you. And Jarno's a guy who can be countered more, but man, he hits hard and he throws hard, right? And Stephen Nguyen was just not moving a lot around in there. He likes to pressure, decent boxing, good little jab, you know, slick counters. He's nothing special. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like he's a guy who ever, you know, cracked the rankings. He's been really inactive. I know he went on the Contender Series when he was 26 years old. And then now I don't even know, right? So he was 26 years old, went on the Contender Series, and he's 32 now. And I know he had to go back I think he's been on the Contender Series 3 times. So knocked out AJ Cunningham on the Contender Series, which isn't a great win, but I do rate Cunningham and Yahya around the same area, I want to say. I think that if they wanted to give Yahya a winnable matchup, it would have been AJ Cunningham. Stephen Nguyen, good pressure. I think he wins this fight. You know, he's like minus 330. I looked at his Instagram. He's looking, you know, in really, really good shape, like better shape than this picture. Yeah, I like Stephen Nguyen. I like his boxing. I actually think he might be able to get a submission here. Muhammad Yahya, if you watch any of his fights, he'll randomly just shoot takedowns. No setup, nothing behind it. Nguyen's got a pretty decent guillotine that he's shown off in the past, and I think that's something that he might be able to, you know, do against Muhammad Yahya, who's been submitted before. So if you're looking for a long shot, man, potentially we could look at that. I don't know why I don't have a number on Stephen Nguyen or any props on this fight. But overall, I don't know. I feel like Nguyen could be a guy who is playable. I'm going to do something a little bit different in my betting guide next weekend. I'm going to go over parlay pieces that are playable and aren't playable, you know, in terms of my whatever, right? Just something to add on, because I know I've had somebody ask me about that. And last week, man, hopefully I could save y'all from some of the stuff. I mean, last week, because Zellhuber and Holland ruined a lot of people's lays, and I just didn't think they were what they should have been, right? So Stephen Nguyen's a guy I probably believe in enough to win this fight, and I'm probably pretty confident he will. My issue is the Abu Dhabi judging, honestly. Like, that's the biggest concern with this fight, but I do think that I think that Nguyen's going to finish this fight, so we don't have to see that. Whether it's a TKO or submission, possibly, I'll be looking at that. Stephen Nguyen by finish, we'll be looking at that for sure. But anyways, man, I'm going to go Stephen Nguyen. I'm going to go, fuck it, I'll go by submission. I'll go by guillotine. Let's move on to the next one. Aslan versus Billy Elekana. I can see a world where Elekana wins. I'm not a big fan of Aslan. He's minus 255. I think it's safe in some sense because I do think that people are thinking that Billy Elekana is some sort of grappler, and he's not. I think it kind of caught Bogdan Guskov off guard when Billy Elekana shot for a takedown. Had him in some good positions there. But Elekana's a striker. He's a kickboxer, I would say. He doesn't really engage a whole lot. That's why I've been looking at the over 1.5 in this fight. I know Aslan is a guy who has finished fights really fast and or been finished. Iwan Cutelaba and the Rafael Corquero fight both ended in, I want to say the first round, I think. Aslan, big combinations. He's athletic, strong, fast, doesn't move his head much. Not a special fighter, really whatsoever. But I don't think that Billy Elekana is going to be able to take him down and do it ever he wants. I think that Elekana is patient enough to survive the 1.5, so that's why I'm really liking it. If you watch any Elekana tape, he doesn't engage a whole lot, especially against power punchers. So we'll see what happens here. I do think that Ibo's just going to win off aggression. I don't like his cardio, Aslan's cardio whatsoever. This guy was exhausted versus Anton Serkali. And I don't like Aslan as a fighter, but I do think his aggression is going to be much more than Billy, and I think he'll throw much more than Billy. I don't know 7 strikes per minute, way more. I haven't even looked at this, but I do think that Aslan is going to be the busier guy here. So whether it's just hitting off the guard or whether it's low kicks or jabs, I do think that Aslan wins this fight. I almost want to say by a decision. I think Elekana might drag him to a decision, and if that's the case, I could see a world where Elekana is winning a round, the third round. So I'm actually going to go with Aslan by decision. I'm sure that could pay me some pretty damn good money, so I might have a look at that as well. So we'll see what happens. But I like Aslan here. Not a whole lot, but I think he does win this fight. I think Elekana kind of stays patient, doesn't open up till the third. I'll go with Aslan by a decision. Go ahead and cash the ticket, man. That is these back-to-back win, submission, and Aslan decision might feed your family for a couple years, man. Amanda Ribas, Tabatha Ricci. I'm not going to lie, guys. I did not watch film for this fight specifically. I would imagine that Tabatha's the favorite. She is the favorite. Or no, she's not. She's the underdog. I meant Ribas. I do think that Ribas should be the favorite. Disappointed in her performance last time out. I think she fought Mackenzie Dern. Ribas, good volume, good activity. Ricci, on the other hand, decent volume, decent activity. This should be a little bit of a high-paced fight. Fuck. Ribas is getting a little old, man. I don't know who to pick here, man. I could see a world where Ricci wins. I could see a world where Ribas wins. I'm gonna bet on the split decision. I'm gonna go with Tabatha Ricci here. Okay. I don't have much of a reasoning, but I'm going with Ricci, man. Let's move on. Great fight, man. This is an excellent matchup. Davey Grant versus Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear's minus 340. Can't get behind that whatsoever. Davey Grant. When has Davey Grant ever looked plus 280 in a fight? Maybe when he's gotten finished a long time ago, but you know what I mean. I know he's 39 years old. Big combinations, great volume, tough as nails. He overextends himself into takedowns, which is a concern for sure, especially against a grappler like Damon Blackshear, who is a submission specialist, right? He is a guy who has so many submissions, different kinds of submissions, can put you in bad positions, great transitions on the ground. But don't count out Davey Grant when it comes to his grappling too, because he is tricky on the ground as well. You see him submit Rafael Assunção crazy. And Asuncao didn't even, like, people want to act like Asuncao was way ahead in that fight. Asuncao really didn't put him in many bad positions at all in that fight. There was no point where Asuncao was landing good ground and pound or Asuncao was threatening a choke, really. It was more control on the fence, and Davey did a great job in that one. I know it was, 2 years ago, but Davey's so aggressive. His striking, he's still powerful, man. He's got nasty calf kicks. Damon Blackshear's calf can be hit, and when it comes to the volume of this fight, both guys will throw a lot of output. The more dangerous fighter for sure in terms of the stand-up is Davey. Damon Blackshear's there to be hit, doesn't move his head a whole lot, and you just saw Cody Gibson just walk this guy down essentially. I know none of those shots really had that much impact, but still a concern, right? For sure. So Davey, I want to pick Davey real bad, man. I really do. But I am concerned about the gas tank. I think that Davey, while he's got great volume, he does tend to gas himself out. I am also worried about his overextending himself into takedowns because he does do that. He'll throw big-ass combinations, looping, and they hit hard, but he gets taken down from these big swings and these kicks. Sometimes people will catch the kicks and take him down. So I'm really banking on Davey Grant, honestly, in this fight to hurt Damon Blackshear at one point or to win a round. I have him, Davey Grant, plus 3.5. But I'm not exactly sure that Damon Blackshear will submit him. I think it's a possibility for sure, but I think Davey, especially at this point, he doesn't really get put in these positions to get submitted in these fights. So I do think Damon wins 29-28, but I wouldn't be too confident. Definitely cautious about a minus 340, especially against a guy like Davey Grant. Damon is a great fighter. I really like his style, but Davey Grant is not a plus 280. He hasn't looked plus 280 in his career, you know what I mean? So give me give me Damon Blackshear here by decision, 29-28. We've got the spread on Davey Grant right here, plus 3.5, at plus 100. So we'll see what happens there. I like it a lot, though, because there's definitely a world I can see Davey Grant winning this fight 100%. So I would stay away from this fight, but Damon Blackshear by decision is my pick. We'll move on to the next one. Carlos Leal versus Muslim Salikhov. I don't like the minus 500 once again. Like, we're getting these big favorites, and I think Leal's a good fighter. I picked him to beat Renat, he definitely won that fight 100,000%, and he might get fucked again because he's fighting Salikhov in Abu Dhabi. So I wouldn't, I'm joking. I don't really think that's the problem here. I think that the problem here is the odds makers or people are overlooking Muslim Salikhov. I know he's old, but, man, this guy's dynamic. He's still fast. I think he is faster than Carlos Leal. I will say that. I think Salikhov's durability is fading quite a bit, but in his cardio as well, that's just something that comes with age, and Salikhov has been finished before. But I think this is more of a melting. I think that, Salikhov will compete early on into this fight, but as the fight progresses, the pressure from Carlos Leal, I just think will get to Salikhov. So, although I think Salikhov, this is crazy. I mean, I know this is a small sample size here, but 9.65 is wild. Man, Salikhov, if he hits you with that wheel kick, man, you're going to sleep. I don't care. I know Leal's tough as nails, but, man, that thing is nasty. I like Salikhov as a fighter. I think he's really fun to watch. But I do think that early on he's going to have some success. So, maybe he wins the first round, but after that, man, Leal's going to pressure. Leal's going to come forward, and I think Leal will break him down and finish him in the second or the third round, whether it's the body shots, whether it's just the head strikes. I think that the pressure and the volume will be a little bit too much for him. When it comes to the grappling side of things, both guys, Carlos Leal wrestled a lot, especially against Sabadou Sai. He was wrestling quite a bit. I think that he doesn't need to do that here. And as for Salikhov as well, he'll shoot takedowns. So I think grappling cancels out. I think both guys are equally as good on the ground, I want to say. Probably Leal's a little bit better, honestly. I'll take Carlos Leal here, man. I'll take him by I want to say a second. I'm going to go third round KO for Carlos Leal. And we'll move on to the hardest fight on the card to predict, man. It is just a son of a bitch to predict this fight. Nobody's got my money here, man. Bryce Mitchell's minus 125. Saeed's plus 105. Bryce Mitchell's moving to bantamweight. And if this was like Bryce Mitchell at featherweight, I'd probably pick Bryce. Like, I still would be a little bit low confidence, but man, like, what are we doing here? You know, like, Saeed can be wrestled. Let's get that out of the way. You know, there's multiple fights of him getting wrestled. Hani Barcelos, Kakramanov, whatever that guy's name is, wrestled him, and I know Saeed choked him out, and that just shows how dangerous the guy is. And that's something about this fight that's making it hard for me to pick Mitchell. Is Saeed is dangerous. You know, I know he's not the most dangerous guy on the feet, but he's definitely more dangerous than Mitchell, right? He's got finishes with the kicks. He's dynamic. He does hit pretty hard. And he's definitely a guy who, if anybody's getting a finish on the feet, it's Saeed Nurmagomedov. But if anybody's getting a finish on the ground, it's probably Saeed Nurmagomedov again. So concerning, man, because I do believe that Mitchell's not going to get the finish here, no matter what. I don't want to say no matter what, but I am looking at Saeed by finish only. But man, like, I don't think Bryce gets a finish here, and I don't know if Bryce wins the first round. Saeed's quick, he's dynamic, you know. It's just like, is the pressure going to get to him, right? Is he going to be able to get that choke? Is he going to be able to find a shot? Because if not, Bryce is probably going to just lay on him for 3 rounds. Look, man, I've had a hard time here. I'm going to go with Mitchell. I'm not confident, man. Like, I'm not confident at all. You know, I think it could go either way for sure. I will be, like I said before, looking at Saeed by finish only. I don't know what that number is going to be. We'll figure it out, I guess. But I don't know who to pick here. I'm going to pick Mitchell. I'm going to go by 29-28 decision. I think that Saeed is going to win the first and Mitchell wins the next 2. But I don't think Mitchell finds a finish. And that's what's really deterring me away from not wanting to pick him, is because I don't think he is finishing upside here. I'm going to go Mitchell. I'm going to go Mitchell by decision. Let's move on to the next one. Nikita Krylov, Bogdan Guskov. Nikita Krylov is going to be minus 190 here, and I don't really understand it. Now, Bogdan Guskov, don't get me wrong, his takedown defense is not good. I'm not going to sit here and act like he is good grappling whatsoever, but he is really dangerous, man. Like, this guy, he hits hard, he has good counters, and while I don't think he is Dominic Reyes, man, like, you got to be worried about some of the reactions you're getting from Krylov. Like, seriously, man, this guy, he's getting hit with a jab, and he's about to fold in half, you know, in that fight. I was all over Krylov to beat Reyes. I was all over him. And he gets popped with a jab, and he almost gets knocked out. It was a stiff jab, whatever, but, bro, like, Krylov was walking through that typically. Guskov's got good timing. He's precise. He's powerful. And what I meant by he's not Dominic Reyes, Reyes' footwork and his angles were too much for Krylov, and he just ran into something. Guskov can do that to some extent. Like I said, I don't think it's like Reyes, but he can move around. He does have good footwork, and he does use angles, okay? Obviously, the takedowns are a problem, for sure. But I like, while I see like him getting his back taken by a lot of people, Ozdemir, Span, Elekana, you know, kind of, he's not, like, he's doing the right things, and he defends takedowns the right way. I just don't know why he can't defend them more often, because he's not, like, bad at defending them. I don't know what he does. I mean, like, I want to say his grappling shit, but I don't really think it's that bad. But I think Guskov's going to knock him out. I really do think he'll find a shot. So we're going with the underdog here. We're going with the underdog at plus 170. I got him at plus 170. You'll be seeing him on the betting guide for sure. Plus 170 on Bogdan Guskov. I'm going by a knockout, first round knockout for Bogdan Guskov. I think he'll find the chin, find the shot, and put Krylov out, whether it's an uppercut or whether it's just a jab. You know, I don't know. But when Bogdan Guskov gets you hurt, man, this guy's going to get the finish for sure, okay? Give me Bogdan Guskov. Like I said before, man, Krylov looked horrible in his last fight. I like Guskov round 1 KO. Let's move on to the next one. Asu Almabayev versus Jose Ochoa. This is a great matchup. Tight fight, man. Tight fight. It's, hello? Ochoa's minus 116. I think that these odds are perfect. I do think that this is a fight. Like, it's crazy because whoever wins this fight, it's not going to look like they're -1 or a pick 'em because it's just completely two different styles. Ochoa, tons of volume, output, great striking, and pressure. Pressure is the word I'll use here because I think that the pressure is going to be something that impacts this fight a whole lot. The forward pressure of Jose Ochoa is going to pay dividends here. That's why I'm picking him to win. The forward pressure and the constant volume, making Almabayev uncomfortable. Almabayev wants to kick at range. He wants to use his spinning kicks and then go in for his takedowns. And he doesn't want to be on the back foot. Ochoa is going to put him on the back foot, put him in boxing range where Almabayev is not good. He's running away from these exchanges with Manel Kopp, and he doesn't want to be in that kind of fight. And that's why I think Ochoa is going to win, because I think he's going to make it that kind of fight. Now, not a big sample size on Ochoa's takedown defense at all. Defended a couple of Durdans, scrambled well in that fight, and I think Durden's a good grappler. I think Almabayev's a little bit better, but I don't think he's much better. People are making it seem like Almabayev's way better grappler than Durden. I don't think it's that big of a difference. I do think Almabayev's better. But, I like the dog inside of Ochoa, and I think Almabayev's a bit of a quitter. When it gets a little ugly, he doesn't want to have that kind of fight. And even if, Ochoa gets taken down maybe halfway through the first round, I think that he's going to be able to put enough volume and output out there to win that round, even if he gets controlled. I wouldn't even say a minute. I don't want to say a minute. A minute of output, and then he gets taken down and controlled for 4 minutes. There could be a possibility he won that round just because Almabayev doesn't do anything on the ground. This guy, no ground and pound, just maybe a little bit of shot, a couple shots to your body. No submissions, really. I don't think he gets a finish here whatsoever. Ochoa has a little bit of upside with the submissions, potentially. But this is a fight where striker versus grappler, I think. I got to lean Ochoa. I like the aggressiveness. I like the forward pressure. You saw Almabayev hate the forward pressure of Manel Kopp. And I think Ochoa is going to bring that kind of pressure, but with more volume. So give me Jose Ochoa here. I'm going to say by a second-round knockout, and we'll move on to the next fight. This is an awesome fight. I'm really hoping Ochoa gets the win here because I'm not a big fan of Almabayev. But I'm going with Ochoa here. Let's move on. Shara Magomedov versus Marc-Andre Barraiult. This should be easy for Shara, man. I can't lie. -650. I've seen some people try to make a case for Marc-Andre Barraiult. No, man. I think that Marc-Andre, if he even tries to implement his pressure game, which I don't really think he still wants to do that anymore. This guy got knocked out by Dustin Stoltzfus, man. We're not talking about that enough. Knocked out cold in the first round by Dustin Stoltzfus. That guy, does he even have a knockdown in the UFC? You know what I mean? So Marc-Andre, his best weapon is gone. I don't want to say his best weapon, but his durability's gone, and that's something that helped his game out a lot. Shara fights off the back foot extremely well. Marc-Andre's going to try to, apply that pressure, and Shara's going to counter him and probably knock him out. And I know people are saying Magomedov decision, whatever. I think he'll knock him out. Marc-Andre, his chin's a little bit concerning. And, he got a big win against Bruno Silva, thrown back in there, and he's just nowhere near as quick, nowhere near as skilled. And if Marc-Andre Barraiult tries to go to Dagestan and wrestle a little bit, maybe he'll win. I don't know. Or have some success. But overall, on the feet, if it's on the feet, Shara's going to knock him out probably. And I do think that I don't want to say at 650 he's playable, but I want to say he's safe. So we'll see what happens. But I think Shara wins this fight, and I think he wins this fight by, I want to say, a little bit of a later knockout, just because I think Marc-Andre is going to be a little bit hesitant in this fight, just because of the dynamicness of Shara. So I'm going to go with Shara here. Let's move on to the next one. Petr Yan, Marcus Mcghee, the co-main event. I just made a TikTok channel, so I'll put that link in the description. Y'all go follow me over there. I did a breakdown on this fight a couple days ago, and the line's moving a lot. Marcus Mcgee's +315. It's wide, man. There's no way in any circumstance am I not going to tell you that this line's wide, especially for a guy like Yan. I say this all the time. A guy like Yan who, he doesn't have finishing ability, man. I know this is just a stupid reference, but he doesn't have finishing ability, okay? And he's a slow starter on top of that. So he's a slow starter, and he has no finishing ability. So he's probably going to drop the first round, especially against a guy like Marcus Mcghee who comes out hot, throwing volume. So he's probably going to drop the first, and on top of him dropping the first round, he's not going to get a finish. So more than likely. So minus 415 is just something I can't do it. Do I think Jan wins? Man, I think it's tight. I see a world where Marcus Mcghee is, putting it on him in the first, and in the second round, Marcus McGee's putting him on it again, or putting it on him again, and then Petr starts to get going a little bit more. But I don't know, man. I'm not too convinced. I've never been a huge fan of Petr Yan's game. I think he's very overrated, and I don't want to see him fight for a title again. I don't care what anybody says. Nothing changes in that Merab matchup. 50-45. He shot 50 takedowns, and Merab shot 50 takedowns because there's nothing to worry about coming back his way. I'd rather see Marcus Mcghee fight for a title than Petr Yan, and I wish I was joking. I think Petr Yan gets the wrestling going, but I wouldn't be too confident, man. I'm going to lean Yan slightly, though, honestly. I'll pick Petr Yan by decision, of course. Let's move on to the main event. Robert Whittaker taking on Renier de Ridder. Give me Robert Whittaker here, man. I think that people are overlooking Robert Whittaker's takedown defense quite a bit. Renier de Ridder, they see the last performance for Whittaker where he gets, choked out by Chimaev, or choked out. I mean, he really didn't get choked out. He was defending really well in that fight up until that point, and got his jaw broken, really. He got choked out, kind of. But Renier, I don't think he's nearly as good as Khamzat Chimaev. Like, I really, really, really don't. I'm shocked by the odds that they're still going down. I can't lie. But maybe we'll get a pick 'em by the time the fight comes, and I would love to see that. So I'm going with Robert Whittaker. I think he defends the takedowns. I think that we're looking at Renier de Ridder as a guy who can just walk you down and clinch you and pressure you the whole fight. And I don't really think that's what Renier de Ridder is going to do. Do I think he's going to try to pressure Whittaker? Of course. Yeah, for sure. But really? Whittaker's not Bo Nickel. He's not Kevin Holland. He's not Gerald Mearshart. Renier de Ridder, I don't really think it's safe for him to just walk him down like that. Whittaker's so fast still, even at this point. He's still fast. He's still got great boxing, great combinations. His footwork is really good, and I think that's going to be an important factor here for the Reaper to win this fight. Give me Robert Whittaker, man. I think he gets it done inside the distance, inside of 3 rounds at minimum. I think his wrestling defense is going to be on point. We've seen Renier de Ridder kind of quit in fights, honestly, if he doesn't have his way. So I know Renier's big, physical, whatever, honestly. Does he have 5-round experience at the highest level? I know he's got a 5-round fight versus some bum at one FC, and he just laid on him the whole entire 5 rounds. That ain't going to be like this. Like, he's going to have to scramble and stuff. So I'm interested. I think it's a fun matchup, but I think Whittaker wins pretty easily, honestly. I could come back to bite me because I can see a way Renier wins, of course. But I think that this is a massive step up in competition. Like, Robert Whittaker's really only losing to Dricus, Chimaev, and Adesanya, at least in kind of the modern era here. So give me Robert Whittaker. And I think he knocks him out inside of 2 rounds. I said 3 before. I'm saying inside of 2 now. So I'll take Robert Whittaker here at minus 140. I got him at, and he's going down, which is a little interesting. But we'll see what it ends up at on fight night. Man, I'm going to start doing some recaps after fight cards. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully we do have Dana White Contender Series coming up relatively pretty soon. So we'll hopefully get active with that. See if I have enough time to break those fights down. Because, man, that's just it's a whole lot of time. But I'm going to figure it out. Don't worry about it. Anyways, man, that's going to wrap it up for me. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.